She looked me dead in the eyes and asked, "Where did she sleep?" I froze, and in that moment, my throat locked up, my heart was pounding, and all I could say was, "In my bed." And that was the moment I realized something devastating. I hadn't outright lied, but I'd betrayed her all the same, and it haunted us two for years. Now, I wish I could tell you that was the worst of it, but the truth is, it wasn't. That moment, that shadow of dishonesty, it was just one chapter in a much bigger story. A story about a man who had built everything he thought that he wanted: the freedom, the success, the lifestyle, and still felt completely disconnected. So, if you've ever looked at your own life and thought, "I've done everything right, why does love still feel so out of reach?" I think you'll really appreciate this one. If you're finding value in this story, I'd love to invite you to hit the subscribe button below. You'll be the first to receive content just like this, honest, relevant, and here to support you on your journey. With every like and every follow, together we're succeeding in our mission and reconnecting the world with what matters most. And that is, of course, each other. Thank you so much. When I was younger, I thought the answer was more freedom. So I quit my corporate job. I started independent consulting. I built a water sports apparel brand so I could justify being at the beach all day. I was kiteboarding. The money was rolling in. Business was looking good. And to everyone else, it looked like the dream. Daniel's doing what he loves. He's free. He's cracked the code. But the part that no one saw was behind the scenes. I was grinding 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. I told myself it was passion, but it wasn't. It was avoidance. And whenever the loneliness got too heavy, I grabbed my phone, swipe on Tinder, matches, a date, probably sex. And for a moment, I felt alive again. But it was fake connection. It was just enough to get me back to the grind, and the cycle repeated. And the women that I dated, some of them were amazing, but when my cup felt even a little full, I ghosted. And they weren't impressed. They're like, "Daniel, you ghosted me. Why would I want to talk to you again?" But more often it was a silence, like not a reply. And so this clearly wasn't a relationship strategy. Hell, it wasn't even a dating strategy. At best, it was a "I don't want to feel lonely tonight" strategy, I guess. And if that's all that it is that I wanted, maybe it would have been fine, but it wasn't, because deep down, I was craving something entirely different. I said I wanted a relationship, someone who really understood me, someone who wanted me for me. But my actions, they told a completely different story. And that became painfully obvious when, during my coaching studies, I finally asked a fellow coach to help me with the question that had been haunting me: why can't I find a real relationship? And his answer was brutal, but it was obvious. He said, "Well, Daniel, your priorities are easy to see. Just look at your results. Right now, they're money, business, kiteboarding, and maybe fourth, dating. And if you're putting in fourth place effort, what kind of results do you think you're going to keep getting?" And I never really forget that, because it was the truth that I'd been ignoring for too long. If I wanted the kind of relationship that I dreamt about, it couldn't be a fourth priority. It had to be number one. But here's where the fear really hit me for the first time. If I really put love first, what if it cost me everything else? What if I gave it everything and still failed? Wouldn't that just prove love wasn't worth it? And that fear kept circling within me unknowingly for years. So if we rewind back a little further, my first real relationship was doomed from the beginning, not because of bad luck, but because I did this one thing wrong. And I did it out of what I thought was love, but really it was fear. You see, I've always held myself to a high standard of honesty, but this relationship taught me something kind of brutal. Omitting the truth is a form of dishonesty. And so here's how it went. I just finished studying in Spain. I spent 6 months with a sweet Spanish girl there. We planned she'd come to visit me in New Zealand, and we had lots of good intentions, but a little real commitment, I guess. And so when I returned home, I had those classic post-travel blues, that feeling you've changed, but nothing else has. Everything kind of seems the same. So to escape, I started living like a tourist in my own city, hiking trips, meetups, and that's when I met this really beautiful Argentinian woman. Beautiful. She was fun, and we clicked. Casual dating, nothing defined. That's how we did it in New Zealand then. Meanwhile, the Spanish girl had already booked her flights to visit me over Christmas, and so I told the Argentinian that I couldn't go on the New Year's trip that she'd planned. I said a friend was visiting, and that friend became the thread everything else unraveled on. You see, the Argentinian girl came back and she asked, "Are you sure you're just friends?" And, yes, of course, because it's the truth, right? We weren't official. She asked, "Where did she sleep?" And I said, "Well, in my bed," reluctantly honest. She asked, "Did you kiss?" And yes, again, because I cannot lie. "Did you have sex?" I admitted the truth only when I was forced to, and she knew it. We stayed together for 2 years. We lived together. We built life together. But there was always that shadow, a shadow of mistrust, a part of me I couldn't escape. And when we finally broke up, she said words that taught me a lot about myself. She said, "Daniel, I know you value honesty, but the way you omit information and emotionally manipulate the truth, it's still a form of dishonesty." And it really hurt because she was right. So after getting over this breakup, I realized that I wasn't the man I needed to be for the relationship that it is that I craved. I had no idea how to become him either. So I stayed single for 7 years. And I always told myself, like, one day someone would arrive and help fix that void within me. But that day never came. And what finally changed everything was when I stopped waiting, stopped outsourcing, and admitted to the deeper truth. I was deeply lonely and I had to take responsibility for that within myself. That wake up moment, it really came later. I was sitting in a cafe in Bali by the stage, staring into a coffee, and I probably wasn't even drinking when a coach asked me, "Daniel, you've got your business values sorted, but what are your relationship values?" And I said, "Yeah, cool, like loyalty, honesty, respect." And he paused and he stared directly at me and he said, "Those are not values, mate. They're just a bare minimum for a functional human, functional man, probably." He goes, "What do you uniquely value and love?" And I didn't know. I hadn't even considered the question because I've been too busy building my life on an identity around external achievement, not internal presence. And that moment set me on a new trajectory. I realized it's not about what do I want in a partner. It's more about how do I want to feel in a relationship. And that changed everything. I stopped asking who's the right person and started asking who am I when I feel alive, safe, playful, connected, seen. That shift from outsourcing love to starting to embody it, that changed my entire trajectory. And I want you to know this, it's not just me. Every man I work with has their own version of this war. Steve, who finally said no for the first time and realized his world didn't fall apart. In fact, he felt more alive than ever. Or David, who he noticed the same trends that made him brilliant in business were sabotaging him in love, always achieving but never feeling. Or Chris, who came out publicly as gay after years of hiding. And he felt the relief of finally being seen as himself for the first time. Or John, who realized emotional numbness was about to cost him his family, and he dared to reconnect before it was too late. See, these are different stories, but the same pattern. We've all been taught how to perform, not how to be present. So I'll ask you this. If you built your life on freedom and success, but still find yourself alone in bed wondering, why does love feel so far away? It's not because you're broken. It's because no one taught you how to lead yourself through intimacy and through love. And that's the work that I do now. I help high-performing men stop sabotaging intimacy by reconnecting with themselves first. And in doing this, they can finally attract and hold the kind of relationships that they actually want. Because here's the truth. Love doesn't arrive when life is perfect. Love arrives when you stop abandoning yourself. And so the question isn't, will you meet the right person? A better question is, when she arrives, will you be someone who can hold her, hold that space, hold that presence, hold that love. Because here's another thing. When you stop outsourcing intimacy, when you stop waiting for the one to arrive and fix it all, life has a way of testing you. For me, I found my dream girl, at least on paper. It was a volatile Latina. The passion, as good as it was, the lows were bad, and it crushed me. It's a story for another time. But after I got clear on what I valued in love, I discovered love for the first time at the age of 32. And it still ended up in breakup, heartbreak, because it taught me how to really feel and express all of what was bottled up within me. And so later I met Louise, and I'll be honest with you, she triggered all my insecurity, obsessions, my too muchness. But it's because she was real and there was no space for me to hide. And for the first time, I realized it's this kind of connection I used to sabotage. You see, in the past, I would have pushed her away, or I would have played it cool, or whatever until the spark fizzled out. Or I would have ghosted once my cup felt full enough. But this time, something was different. This time, I knew what I wanted to feel. Playful, alive, seen, safe. And with Louisa, I felt it from day one. So instead of collapsing under the weight of all of that, I leant in. I showed her the messy, uncurated parts of me. I let her see the man behind the lifestyle. Instead of running, we both stayed. She stayed. And here's the crazy part. I didn't just get the girl. I got myself. Because with Louisa, it's never been about maintaining some polished version of me. It's been about congruence, about building something grounded, alive, not just impressive. And so do we have challenges? Well, yes, of course. But the difference is I no longer try to avoid them. I no longer sabotage the intimacy at the first sign of discomfort, because for the first time, I trust myself to hold it. And that's the point I want to leave with you. This work isn't about becoming perfect. It's not about hacking attraction or finding some mythical soulmate, the one. It's about becoming the man who can finally recognize real connection when it arrives and then hold it when it does. That's what changed everything for me. That's why I get to build a life with Louisa now instead of repeating the same old shallow loops. And is exactly what I help other men do today. So if you're sitting there thinking, I'm tired of the performance, I'm tired of empty connections, I want something real, but I don't know how to be the version of me that can hold this yet, just know this. The learned competencies aren't that far away, but it does start within yourself first. And the question isn't, will I ever meet the right person? The better question always is, when she arrives, will I be someone who can hold her, hold that space, hold that presence? And if that question lands with you, stay tuned, because what I'd love to share with you in the next video is my relational connection system. It gives you the framework of how all this comes together, something you can take away and do yourself, or alternatively reach out. I'd love to help you through this process. This is what I'm passionate in, this is what I've dedicated my life to, and it's just such a beautiful process. So I welcome you and thank you for being here, and thank you for doing the work, the journey that you are about to and already embarking on. We'll see you on there.